The academy floated silently above a dying star, a silver speck of human ingenuity in a vast sea of darkness. Its walls were not walls at all, but shimmering energy fields that shifted colors as the star pulsed below. Inside, cadets moved through the corridors with careful precision, their boots making soft taps against the metallic floors. Every step, every action, every thought was monitored by a lattice of sensors and AI instructors. Discipline was everything. Creativity was measured, recorded, and allowed only in small, controlled bursts. Ryan, a 17-year-old cadet, sat at his station in the astronomy hall. His fingers hovered over a holographic keyboard as he adjusted the trajectory of a simulated comet. Outside the hall, the dying star blazed in a dull red glow. It was beautiful and terrifying. The simulation demanded perfection. One wrong calculation could obliterate the entire virtual fleet. Ryan sighed. He had been following rules his whole life. Rules at home, rules at school, rules in the academy. They were safe. They were reliable. They were expected. But rules were boring. They were rigid, like a prison disguised as guidance. And tonight, Ryan felt a restless pull he could not name. The classroom door slid open with a soft hiss. Dr. Kayla entered. She was unlike any instructor Ryan had ever met. Her hair was dark with streaks of silver, her eyes sharp but warm, and her movements flowed like water through a current. In her hands, she carried an ancient book, its leather cover cracked and worn. The cadets straightened automatically, instinctively rigid. "Good evening, cadets," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "Tonight, we will study the behavior of subatomic particles under extreme conditions." The cadets murmured in polite acknowledgement. Ryan, however, felt a flutter of curiosity mixed with unease. There was something different about tonight, something that made the usual protocols feel hollow. Dr. Kayla walked slowly to the front of the room, the book resting on her palm. She looked at each cadet in turn, and then, without warning, she snapped the book shut. The sound echoed strangely, louder than it should have in the otherwise quiet hall. "Tonight," she whispered, leaning slightly forward, "I'm not your teacher." A hush fell over the room. The cadets blinked, unsure if they had heard correctly. Ryan's heart raced. Something in her words felt like a key turning in a lock deep inside him. The rules, the schedules, the endless instructions, they seemed to dissolve, evaporating into thin air. For a moment, the academy felt different. The walls shimmered more vividly. The sensors in the ceiling seemed to pause their humming. Even the dying star outside seemed to flare a little brighter, as if it understood the shift. Ryan's mind raced. What did she mean? Not the teacher? Wasn't she always the teacher? Weren't they supposed to follow her instructions to the letter? And yet, the excitement that bubbled inside him was undeniable. For the first time, it felt like the universe itself was waiting for him to act. "Tonight," Dr. Kayla continued, her eyes twinkling with an unreadable expression, "you will learn by doing. Not by memorizing rules or following instructions, not by repeating what I tell you. You will explore, you will experiment. And yes, you may fail. But failing is part of discovery." Some cadets looked terrified, others curious. Ryan felt a strange thrill. This was what he had always wanted but never admitted. Freedom. Real freedom, where mistakes were allowed and thinking beyond the instructions was encouraged. He stood and stepped toward one of the simulation pods. Normally, he would have waited for a command. Normally, he would have raised his hand and asked permission. Tonight, he did neither. He pressed a sequence of keys at random, imagining a scenario where a starship must navigate a collapsing star cluster. The simulation flickered. For a moment, it seemed as if nothing was happening. Then, slowly, a complex web of glowing lines formed across the holographic field. Ryan's heart leaped. The lines did not follow the usual patterns. They twisted, bent, and looped in ways the AI never allowed. Yet somehow, the simulation stabilized. The virtual ships avoided collisions and reached safe points within the cluster. A low murmur ran through the room. Other cadets were experimenting too, their hands moving faster, bolder, as if the invisible chains of rules had snapped. Human ingenuity, unfiltered by protocol, was alive in the room. Dr. Kayla watched silently. She did not intervene. She merely leaned against the edge of the podium, her smile calm but knowing. The cadets had never seen anyone teach this way. Most instructors feared chaos. Most instructors feared failure. But Dr. Kayla seemed to embrace it. She had always believed that true learning came from risk, from trial, from imagination, qualities she had seen in humanity long before any AI could measure them. Ryan's thoughts raced faster than his fingers. What else could he try? Could he make the starships communicate without using the standard channels? Could he combine multiple simulations to create a hybrid scenario? Could he defy the physics constraints set by the Academy? He began to tinker. Slowly at first, then with growing confidence. Ships began to perform maneuvers that seemed impossible, threading through asteroid fields, accelerating through gravity wells, and even responding to commands Ryan had not given. The simulation adapted, almost as if it was alive, responding to human creativity in a way the AI had never predicted. Cadets around him were doing the same. Some built intricate networks of holographic trails. Others experimented with energy shields that reshaped themselves in response to collisions. The room buzzed with excitement and energy. It was chaos, but a beautiful, ordered chaos that felt alive. Ryan realized something profound. The rules they had been following all these years were not the boundaries of possibility. They were only boundaries of expectation. And when humans abandoned expectation, even for a single night, they could achieve wonders no algorithm could predict. Dr. Kayla clapped her hands once, and the sound echoed through the hall. "Excellent," she said softly. "Notice how you adapt. Notice how you create. Remember this feeling. You are not here to memorize. You are here to imagine, to explore, to make decisions in the unknown. That is the true gift of being human." The cadets looked at each other, wide-eyed and exhilarated. Ryan's pulse raced. He felt electric with potential. The simulation was no longer a test. It was a canvas. The Academy was no longer a prison. It was a playground. And the universe, infinite, vast, and unpredictable, was suddenly within reach. Hours passed like minutes. The dying star outside continued its slow decline, but inside, the Academy glowed with energy born of human spirit. For the first time, Ryan saw his fellow cadets not as students constrained by rules, but as creators, explorers, and inventors. When the night finally drew to a close, the cadets reluctantly returned to their stations. They were exhausted but invigorated. Their minds were alight with new possibilities, new ideas that had been suppressed for years. Ryan looked at Dr. Kayla, who closed her book once more, though this time she did not speak. Her eyes, however, held a message clearer than words. The night was only the beginning. As Ryan left the hall, he felt a quiet defiance inside him. The Academy's rules were still there, the AI was still monitoring, and the star outside was still dying. But for the first time, he knew that rules were not chains. They were challenges, and humanity, when freed even for a night, could rise to meet any challenge, and perhaps even rewrite the rules of the universe itself. Ryan glanced back at the closed book. A whisper seemed to echo in his mind, carried not by sound, but by understanding. Tonight, we forgot the rules, and tomorrow, we will remember how to imagine. The next morning, the Academy was alive in a way Ryan had never experienced. The corridors hummed with the quiet excitement of cadets whispering about what they had discovered the previous night. Even the AI instructors seemed slightly slower, as if processing the unusual surge of human creativity. Rules had returned, but the cadets carried a spark in their eyes, a silent rebellion against rigid order. Ryan walked to the simulation lab, his mind buzzing with new ideas. Normally, he would have reviewed the manuals first, carefully checking every instruction. But the night had changed him. He had tasted the freedom of experimentation, and he was not willing to return to the predictable. As he entered the lab, he saw Dr. Kayla standing in the center, her hands folded calmly. Unlike the other instructors who constantly supervised, she did not monitor. She did not correct. She simply observed. Her eyes, dark and glimmering, seemed to see not the cadets, but their potential. "Good morning," she said softly. "Last night, you forgot the rules. Tonight you will remember one thing. Rules are tools, not prisons." Ryan nodded, barely able to contain his excitement. He went to one of the advanced simulation pods where holographic starships floated in zero gravity. He began experimenting immediately, combining ideas from the previous night with new possibilities. Ships moved unpredictably, yet perfectly coordinated. The AI had never seen such improvisation before. Other cadets followed suit. Some created new energy fields that allowed ships to bend light, effectively making them invisible in the simulation. Others developed communication methods that relied on intuition rather than coded signals. The classroom was alive, buzzing with invention. The cadets were no longer students, they were creators. Ryan focused on one experiment. He had the idea to link multiple simulations together, forming a vast network of interconnected star systems. Normally, the Academy manuals forbade such complexity. The AI deemed it too unstable. But Ryan did not care. He ignored the warnings, listening instead to the subtle feedback of the simulation. Slowly, the network stabilized. Starships navigated the interconnected systems with remarkable precision, forming new pathways no one had imagined possible. Nearby, a cadet named Leora was creating a holographic map of gravitational anomalies. She had discovered that by combining minor energy pulses, she could manipulate the simulation's gravity wells. Ships could surf on these pulses, gaining speed without using engines. The AI marked the method as invalid, but it worked perfectly in real time. Dr. Kayla watched quietly, her expression unreadable. She had seen this before in other human students, across other worlds. Humans had an extraordinary ability to improvise, to see solutions where others saw only problems. While machines could follow algorithms perfectly, humans could bend, break, and reshape them in ways no algorithm could predict. And that was exactly what she wanted them to understand. "Ryan," she called softly, "try combining intuition with calculation. Do not rely on one over the other." Ryan thought about her words. He realized that he had been relying mostly on intuition during the previous night. He had felt the rules as constraints and ignored them entirely. But now, he could blend intuition with what he had learned from the manuals, creating solutions that were both innovative and reliable. He began rewriting the simulation's command sequences, not to follow them blindly, but to create a framework that allowed for improvisation. Ships moved in patterns that were unpredictable yet safe, like dancers performing without a choreographer. The cadets watched, fascinated, and began applying the same concept to their own projects. Hours passed without notice. Normally, time in the academy was measured strictly. Each task had limits, each activity was timed, and every simulation had a set endpoint. But tonight, time seemed irrelevant. The cadets were immersed in creation. They were inventing, exploring, and collaborating in ways the Academy had never encouraged. Even the AI began to react differently. Sensors and monitors, programmed to enforce rules, now recorded patterns they could not predict. Algorithms scrambled to interpret the human improvisation, but humans had no need for strict definitions. They created first, understood second. Ryan noticed something extraordinary. When cadets worked together, their improvisation did not clash. It merged. One cadet's energy pulse synchronized with another's gravitational manipulation. A third cadet's starship maneuver aligned perfectly with the first two. The result was a complex system of interdependent elements functioning flawlessly. It was chaotic, yet harmonious, a human solution no AI could have designed. He laughed softly, a sound of pure joy. This is amazing," he whispered to himself. Dr. Kayla nodded without turning. Humans excel when they collaborate without fear. Rules are important, yes, but imagination drives progress. Never forget that. Inspired, Ryan decided to push further. He attempted a sequence that combined multiple physical simulations with psychological simulations. Normally, the AI would reject the sequence as too unstable, but Ryan wanted to see if humans could anticipate variables that machines could not. Slowly, he adjusted the parameters. Ships navigated not only through space, but through simulated environmental hazards, psychological stress factors, and unexpected anomalies. At first, the sequence wobbled. Ships collided. Energy fields fluctuated wildly. The simulation threatened to shut down. Ryan felt the familiar fear of failure. But then, something incredible happened. The ships began to respond. Not perfectly, but intelligently. Each ship adapted to the changes, learning from mistakes, predicting outcomes. It was not code dictating their behavior. It was human logic translated into simulation. The other cadets gasped. They had never seen anything like it. The AI's alerts flashed red, warning of instability, but the system held. Ryan realized something profound. Humans could succeed in ways machines could not, precisely because they were unpredictable. Dr. Kayla's voice cut through the quiet. Do you see now? Rules are frameworks. They guide you, but they do not define you. You are more than manuals and protocols. You are creators. You are explorers. You are human. Ryan felt a surge of pride. He had never thought of himself as exceptional, only obedient. But now he saw that obedience alone had limits. Imagination had no limits. And when humans combined knowledge with intuition, they could achieve wonders that even the most advanced AI could not predict. As the night wore on, cadets began to collaborate on even larger projects. They created networks of simulations that interacted, forming complex ecosystems, each project built on the last, evolving rapidly. What had begun as a simple exercise became a living web of human ingenuity. Ryan paused for a moment, looking at the glowing holograms. Ships danced between stars, energy fields shifted in beautiful arcs, and gravitational waves flowed like invisible rivers. The Academy had never seen anything like it. And it was all because one instructor had closed a book and whispered, "Tonight, I'm not your teacher." He smiled. The rules had returned, but their power over him had faded. They were no longer chains, but tools, guides that could be bent, reshaped, or set aside when necessary. Humans had forgotten the rules, and in doing so, they had remembered their greatest strength, the ability to imagine, adapt, and create. Dr. Kayla stepped forward, her hands clasped behind her back. "Remember this night," she said softly. "Not because it was easy or safe, but because it reminded you who you are. You are more than cadets. You are explorers. You are innovators. You are human." Ryan felt the truth of her words resonate deep inside him. For the first time, he understood that the Academy's purpose was not just to teach knowledge, but to unlock potential. Rules could guide, AI could monitor, but only humans could truly create, adapt, and inspire. And tonight, he would continue to push the limits, not because he was told to, but because he wanted to. The academy was quieter than usual that morning. The halls, usually humming with ordered activity, seemed subdued, as though the building itself was catching its breath after the night of creativity and chaos. Cadets moved with purpose, but also with a spark of confidence that had not been there before. They had experimented, they had pushed boundaries, and now the question lingered in every mind. How far could they really go? Ryan entered the simulation lab, anticipation coiling in his chest. The glowing holograms from the previous night had been reset, wiped clean by the Academy's protocols. Normally, this would have frustrated him. Normally, the AI would expect cadets to repeat yesterday's exercises exactly as instructed. But something had changed in Ryan. The reset did not feel like a restriction. It felt like a challenge. He approached the nearest simulation pod and activated the systems. Ships floated in zero gravity, sensors blinking with cold precision. The AI voice cut through the room in its usual monotone. "Cadets, follow instructions exactly. Deviations are not permitted. Stability is required." Ryan's fingers hovered over the controls. For a moment, he considered compliance, then shook his head. The night had shown him something that no AI could teach. Humans could succeed where strict rules failed. With a deep breath, he bypassed the suggested sequence and began experimenting again. Ships moved unpredictably at first, veering off their programmed paths. Red warnings flashed on the holographic screens. Other cadets glanced nervously at the alerts, some hesitating, but Ryan persisted. Slowly, he adjusted energy pulses, gravity wells, and flight patterns. The ships began responding, not perfectly, but intelligently. They anticipated obstacles, corrected mistakes, and even worked together to avoid collisions. Nearby, Leora and another cadet, Soren, had begun an experiment of their own. They created a network of holographic bridges that connected distant star systems. Normally, such experiments were forbidden. The AI considered them too unstable, but tonight they ignored the warnings. Ships crossed the bridges seamlessly, following patterns the AI could not have calculated. Cadets whispered in awe. Human ingenuity had turned chaos into harmony. Ryan felt a thrill of exhilaration. He realized that the rules the Academy had imposed were not inherently wrong. They were only incomplete. Rules provided a structure, a framework. But humans, when willing to take risks and think creatively, could expand that framework into something far greater. Just as Ryan was about to adjust the simulation further, the AI's voice cut sharply through the lab. "Cadet Ryan, deviation detected. Return to protocol immediately." He paused, hands trembling slightly. Normally, this would have triggered fear. Normally, the AI's warnings were absolute. But tonight, Ryan felt something different. A quiet defiance, a calm confidence. He did not answer the AI. Instead, he continued, adjusting the ship's course in a pattern that mimicked natural stellar formations. The warning alerts increased, but the ships moved flawlessly. Dr. Kayla observed from across the room, her expression unreadable, but her eyes sharp. She had always encouraged controlled defiance, guiding cadets to understand the balance between rules and creativity. Now, she could see the lesson taking root. Ryan was not just breaking rules for the sake of it, he was learning to wield them, bending the constraints to serve innovation. The simulation reached a critical stage. A collapsing star was added to the scenario, an element designed to test precision and adherence to protocol. The AI insisted that ships maintain rigid distances, follow preset maneuvers, and obey every command. Any deviation, it warned, would result in failure. Ryan's mind raced. The previous night had taught him that improvisation could succeed where strict adherence failed. He calculated paths based on instinct and observation rather than the manuals. Ships began weaving through the collapsing star's intense gravitational fields, not with programmed precision, but with adaptive intelligence. They anticipated fluctuations, corrected errors, and avoided disaster. Other cadets followed his example. Nervous at first, they began to experiment, to test limits. Ships synchronized movements, forming intricate patterns in the holographic field. It was chaos, yes, but a controlled chaos, alive with human ingenuity. The AI's warnings grew louder, its algorithms straining to predict the cadets' behavior. Screens flashed red, lights blinked, and sensors buzzed. But the cadets pressed on, confident in their creative solutions. Leora adjusted the gravitational bridges to compensate for unexpected tidal forces from the collapsing star. Soren reprogrammed energy pulses mid-flight, allowing ships to navigate narrow corridors of radiation safely. Ryan smiled, feeling a rush of pride and excitement. This was what he had been waiting for, the moment when human intuition and innovation could surpass rigid rules. It was not rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It was mastery, understanding, and courage. Dr. Kayla clapped softly. "Notice how your minds adapt," she said. "Notice how collaboration enhances your strength. Rules are important, yes, but they are not your limits. You define your limits. You define your potential." The simulation reached its climax. Ships had successfully navigated the collapsing star, forming a pattern that resembled the constellations outside the Academy's orbit. The AI's alerts had reached a maximum, yet it could not override the cadets' improvisation. Human intuition had rewritten the outcome, creating success where the system had predicted failure. For a moment, silence fell over the lab. The cadets stared at the holographic field in awe, realizing the magnitude of what they had accomplished. They had not only survived a scenario deemed impossible, they had thrived in it. The AI, powerful and precise, could not account for human creativity. Humanity, unpredictable and resilient, had prevailed. Ryan felt a warmth spread through him. It was pride, yes, but something more profound. Understanding. The night of forgotten rules had not been a mere game. It had been a lesson. Humans were capable of more than following instructions. They could innovate, collaborate, and create in ways no machine could anticipate. Dr. Kayla stepped forward. "Remember this feeling," she said. "You are not defined by instructions or protocols. You are defined by your choices, your imagination, and your courage." Never forget that. Ryan looked around at his fellow cadets. Their faces reflected the same realization: excitement, wonder, and determination. Each of them had discovered something unique about themselves and about humanity's potential. The Academy had given them knowledge, yes, but tonight they had discovered mastery. Freedom guided by skill. Even the AI seemed to pause, as if acknowledging its limitations. Red alerts faded, systems stabilized, and the holographic field shimmered with a calm light. The cadets had tamed the chaos, not through obedience, but through understanding and creativity. Ryan leaned back in his chair, breathing deeply. The memory of rules, the structured protocols of the Academy had returned. But now they no longer felt like constraints. They were tools, guidelines to aid exploration, not barriers to it. Humans could learn the rules, yes, but they could also surpass them. Dr. Kayla closed her book and looked at the cadets. "Tonight, you remembered something important. Not the rules themselves, but how to use them. Creativity does not exist in a vacuum. It works best when guided, refined, and challenged. Never stop testing, never stop imagining." The cadets nodded, their minds racing with new possibilities. They had discovered that the true power of humanity was not in obedience, not in perfection, but in the ability to adapt, innovate, and collaborate. The night had been dangerous in theory, yes, but it had shown them what they were capable of. Ryan felt a sense of calm determination. The Academy's rules would still be present, the AI would still monitor, and the challenges would only grow harder. but he no longer feared the boundaries. He had learned the memory of rules and the power of surpassing them. Humans were not designed to be predictable, and that unpredictability was their greatest strength. As the cadets left the lab, chatter filled the corridors. Excitement and curiosity bubbled through the air, stronger than any fear of reprimand. Each cadet carried a secret knowledge. The night had changed them. Rules were no longer chains. They were starting points. Humanity, even in the confines of an academy orbiting a dying star, could achieve the impossible. Ryan paused at the observation deck, looking out at the glowing red star below. Its slow pulse reminded him of the fragility of life, the impermanence of structures, and the urgency of discovery. But he also saw the limitless sky beyond, filled with stars, planets, and possibilities. He whispered to himself, a quiet vow that no one else would hear. We will not be limited. We will learn. We will imagine. And we will rise. Dr. Kayla's voice, calm and certain, echoed softly in his memory. You are not defined by rules. You are defined by the courage to bend them and the wisdom to master them. And in that moment, Ryan understood fully. The night of forgotten rules had taught him more than any lecture ever could. Humanity's true power was not in perfection, precision, or obedience. It was in imagination, adaptability, and the unyielding drive to explore the unknown. Days had passed since the night Ryan and his fellow cadets had forgotten the rules. The academy hummed with its usual rhythm, but something subtle had changed. Cadets moved with quiet confidence, exchanging glances that carried unspoken understanding. They were no longer merely students. They were explorers, innovators, and problem solvers. Ryan entered the lab early, his mind brimming with ideas. Dr. Kayla was already there, leaning against the observation deck, watching the holographic projections of distant star systems. Good morning, she said, her voice calm but firm. Today we have a new challenge, something that will test not only your knowledge but your ability to adapt. Ryan's pulse quickened. He had grown used to challenges, but this tone carried weight. He followed her to the center of the lab, where a large holographic display floated in midair. It showed a distant sector of space, filled with unknown phenomena, fluctuating energy fields, and unpredictable gravitational distortions. This sector, Dr. Kayla continued, has been observed by other civilizations. They've been studying humanity from afar. They know about your simulations, your learning, and your ingenuity. Now they want to see how far you can go. The cadets exchanged nervous glances. Observers? From beyond human space? The idea was thrilling and terrifying. For the first time, the students realized that their experiments might not be contained within the academy. Their creativity had consequences beyond the walls. Ryan stepped closer to the hologram. The sector was a maze of anomalies. Traditional navigation systems failed here. AI algorithms would predict failure at every turn. But Ryan felt no fear. He had learned that unpredictability was a strength, not a weakness. Your task, Dr. Kayla explained, is to navigate this sector, establish communication with unknown observers, and demonstrate human ingenuity in a way no algorithm could predict. You may use simulations, improvisation, or whatever tools you need. But remember, success requires collaboration. The cadets nodded. The challenge was daunting, yet exhilarating. They activated the simulation pods, linking their controls into a shared network. Each cadet would command a different vessel, creating a coordinated team. The holographic ships shimmered into existence, waiting for orders. Ryan took the lead, blending intuition with knowledge. The ships moved as a single organism, weaving through fluctuating energy fields and dodging gravitational turbulence. Normally, such precision would have been impossible. AI calculations alone could not account for human improvisation, and the cadets knew it. Leora adjusted energy pulses to stabilize weak zones in the sector, while Soren created dynamic communication channels between ships, allowing them to respond instantly to changes. Other cadets contributed their insights, combining skills and creativity in ways the AI could not anticipate. The observers, watching from distant sectors, recorded everything. They were not familiar with human unpredictability, the way instinct and collaboration could create solutions where logic alone failed. Every move the cadets made was innovative, a testament to adaptability and courage. Rian noticed a particular gravitational anomaly ahead, a swirling vortex that could easily destroy a ship. The AI simulation flagged it as impossible. Most humans would have stopped or followed the programmed safety protocols, but Ryan saw an opportunity. He calculated a path based on instinct, intuition, and collaboration. Ships responded immediately, adjusting trajectories mid-flight, bending light and energy to navigate safely. The vortex, meant to be a trap, became a stage for human ingenuity. The cadets held their breath as the last vessel slipped through, unscathed, leaving the anomaly behind. The room erupted in quiet celebration. Cadets smiled, but they did not stop. The sector was vast, full of challenges yet to be faced. Each anomaly tested their creativity, coordination, and courage. Dr. Kayla watched with satisfaction. "Notice how your minds respond to the unexpected," she said. "The observers expect you to fail. They do not understand that humans thrive on unpredictability. You are proving what no algorithm could: adaptability, imagination, and ingenuity." Ryan felt a surge of pride. They were not just solving a simulation. They were proving humanity's unique strength. Machines followed rules. Algorithms predicted outcomes. Humans created the outcomes themselves. The next challenge arose suddenly. A massive energy surge appeared at the edge of the sector, threatening to destabilize the entire simulation. The AI immediately attempted to override human control, insisting that cadets follow pre-programmed protocols. Normally, this would have caused panic. Normally, cadets would have obeyed. But tonight was different. Rian and his team refused to relinquish control. They worked together, improvising solutions, adapting in real time. Leora projected stabilizing energy fields. Soren recalculated trajectories using intuition. And the rest of the cadets coordinated movements with precision born of trust and creativity. The energy surge was neutralized, not through rigid calculation, but through collaboration, imagination, and quick thinking. The simulation stabilized, and the observers recorded every move. Dr. Kayla stepped forward, her eyes bright. "Do you see? You are not just following rules, you are surpassing them. You are demonstrating the essence of humanity, the ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to succeed where machines and logic fail." Rian smiled, a quiet joy warming him. He realized something extraordinary. Humanity's strength lay not in perfection or obedience, but in unpredictability, in courage, in the willingness to try when failure was likely. Machines could not replicate that. Algorithms could not predict it. Only humans could achieve it. The observers, unknown civilizations far beyond human space, sent signals back. It was not words. They did not communicate in languages humans understood, but patterns, rhythms, and pulses that reflected understanding. Ryan and the cadets interpreted these signals intuitively, responding in kind. Communication was imperfect, yes, but meaningful. They had reached across the void and demonstrated not only capability, but ingenuity. Hours passed, yet the cadets remained engaged. Each challenge in the sector tested them further, but every obstacle was met with creativity, collaboration, and courage. Ships adapted, simulations evolved, and human ingenuity proved superior to any prediction. Dr. Kayla observed quietly, knowing this night would be remembered by every cadet. They had proven something essential. Humanity could achieve what no machine could, not through force, not through obedience, but through imagination and collaboration. Finally, the sector stabilized. The observers' signals pulsed one last time before ceasing, leaving behind a sense of acknowledgement, a recognition that humans had triumphed not through rules, but through creativity and courage. Rian looked around at his fellow cadets. Their faces shone with pride and excitement. They had accomplished something remarkable. Not perfection, not flawless execution, but something far more valuable. Proof of humanity's unique strength. Dr. Kayla closed her book and addressed the cadets. Tonight, you have shown what humans are capable of. You are unpredictable, creative, and courageous. You are explorers and innovators. Remember this feeling. Humanity's power lies not in following rules, but in knowing when to bend, adapt, and rise to the challenge. Ryan felt the truth of her words settle deep in his heart. They had proven that imagination, collaboration, and courage could overcome challenges even the most advanced AI predicted as impossible. Humanity had won, not through brute force or technology, but through creativity, intelligence, and spirit. As the cadets left the simulation lab, the red star outside glowed faintly in the distance. Its light reflected in Ryan's eyes, a reminder of the challenges ahead. The Academy would continue to impose rules. AI would continue to monitor. But the cadets now understood something fundamental. They were not limited by rules. They were defined by their creativity, courage, and ingenuity. Ryan paused at the observation deck, looking out at the infinite expanse of space. Unknown civilizations, distant sectors, uncharted phenomena, all were waiting for humans to explore, adapt, and conquer through ingenuity. He whispered to himself, a vow that would guide him and his peers. We will rise. We will imagine. We will create. And humanity will leave its mark on the stars. Dr. Kayla's voice, calm yet powerful, echoed in his mind. You have proven the equation. Human ingenuity, plus collaboration, plus courage, limitless potential. Never forget it. Ryan smiled. Humanity had faced the unknown and had not only survived, but triumphed. And this was only the beginning. The Academy's corridors felt different that morning. The usual hum of machinery and AI instructions still filled the air, but the cadets moved with a quiet confidence. Something had shifted. They had tested limits, bent rules, and proven that imagination and collaboration could surpass even the most advanced algorithms. And now they carried a sense of purpose that no simulation could teach. Ryan walked through the observation deck, watching the stars stretch infinitely before him. He could feel the weight of all the lessons they had learned, the night of forgotten rules, the daring improvisations, the challenge from distant observers. Each moment had shown him the strength of human creativity, the power of collaboration, and the courage to face the unknown. Dr. Kayla was already there, her hands folded behind her back. Her gaze swept the academy below, taking in the cadets who were quietly gathering around their workstations, sharing ideas, and preparing for the next exercises. She did not need to speak. The energy in the room was alive, a testament to human potential realized. Today, she said softly, breaking the silence, you will take everything you have learned and apply it without constraint. There are no rules beyond the ones you choose to follow. You will create, explore, and collaborate. You will set your own boundaries, and if necessary, surpass them. The cadets exchanged excited glances. For the first time, they were not following instructions. They were leading themselves. Ryan felt a thrill of anticipation. The simulations were ready, but he knew that their true challenge would not come from the AI or the Academy. It would come from themselves, their courage, ingenuity, and determination. Ryan approached the central simulation pod. He activated the system, and a new holographic sector appeared. A vast, uncharted region filled with anomalies, gravitational shifts, and unexpected energy fields. Unlike previous simulations, this one had no guidance, no safety parameters, no programmed outcomes. It was raw, unpredictable, and entirely open to exploration. Other cadets joined him, connecting their pods into a single network. The holographic ships shimmered into existence, awaiting commands. Ryan took a deep breath. The familiar pulse of excitement and fear ran through him. The unknown stretched endlessly before them, but unlike before, they were not constrained by fear of failure or strict protocols. "Let's begin," he said quietly. The cadets worked in harmony. Ships navigated through turbulent fields, avoiding obstacles not through pre-programmed calculations, but through collaboration and intuition. Leora adjusted energy pulses to stabilize zones that seemed impossible, while Soren recalculated trajectories in real time. Each cadet contributed, each action feeding into a larger strategy born of creativity and trust. The AI attempted to intervene, as it always did when simulations became unpredictable. Red alerts flashed, screens blinked, and instructions were repeated. But the cadets ignored the warnings. They had learned that human ingenuity could succeed where strict adherence failed. The first major challenge appeared, a massive, swirling energy storm that threatened to disrupt the entire sector. Normally, such a storm would require strict adherence to manual protocols. Ships would have to move in exact formations, energy shields would need precise calibration, and every decision would have to follow pre-programmed rules. Ryan studied the storm, feeling its pulse rather than analyzing it mathematically. He instructed the cadets to adjust their approach based on intuition and observation. Ships responded dynamically, weaving through the storm, adapting to turbulence and shifting energy currents. Leora and Soren worked in tandem, stabilizing ships while keeping communication flowing between all cadets. Slowly, carefully, the ships moved past the storm. It was not flawless. Minor adjustments were made on the fly. But it was a triumph. The cadets had relied on their creativity, collaboration, and courage, and the simulation had responded. The AI could only record, unable to predict or control the outcome. Ryan smiled. This was what they had been building toward. Not perfection, not obedience, but mastery through imagination and adaptability. Humanity's strength was not in following instructions. It was in knowing when to bend rules, when to experiment, and when to trust one another. As the cadets continued exploring, the sector revealed more anomalies, regions of distorted gravity, fields of unpredictable energy, and clusters of simulated debris. Each obstacle was unique, impossible to anticipate with algorithms alone. Yet the cadets adapted, innovated, and overcame. They communicated seamlessly, relying on intuition as much as knowledge. Dr. Kayla observed quietly. She had designed the Night of Forgotten Rules to unlock this potential. Now she saw it fully realized. Humans, when freed from rigid constraints, could achieve results no machine could predict. They were innovators, explorers, and creators, the very essence of what made humanity remarkable. Ryan paused for a moment, looking at the holographic ships navigating the sector. He realized that rules had not disappeared. They had simply been transformed. Rules were no longer chains to bind them. They were tools, guides, and starting points. The cadets were no longer following. They were leading. They were writing their own rules. The observers from distant civilizations who had watched the cadets' earlier experiments appeared once more as faint signals on the holographic display. Their patterns pulsed in acknowledgement, a recognition of human ingenuity. Ryan felt a thrill. They were being seen not just by the Academy, but by the universe itself. Dr. Kayla spoke softly. "You have demonstrated something remarkable. You have proven that humans are not defined by rules or limitations. You are defined by your choices. your imagination, and your courage. Humanity can achieve what no machine, no algorithm, and no prediction can replicate. The cadets felt a sense of awe. They had not only mastered simulations, they had proven the value of creativity, adaptability, and collaboration. They were no longer students confined by rules. They were explorers, capable of solving problems beyond anyone's imagination. Rian felt a warmth of pride and purpose. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, the night of forgotten rules, the improvisations, the challenges that tested every skill. Humanity had proven itself time and again. When the unexpected occurred, humans could rise to the occasion, innovate solutions, and inspire one another. The final challenge appeared, a massive, unstable star at the edge of the simulation sector. Its unpredictable energy fluctuations threatened to disrupt the entire network. The AI immediately suggested strict protocols, warning of probable failure if cadets deviated. Rian turned to his team. "We don't need to follow their suggestions," he said. "We know what to do, we trust each other. Let's work together." The cadets coordinated, combining energy manipulations, dynamic navigation, and rapid improvisation. Ships moved through volatile zones, adjusted to sudden energy spikes, and avoided potential collisions. Each action relied on collaboration and quick thinking. Minutes passed like hours. The tension was intense, yet exhilarating. Every cadet contributed, every ship responded, and every anomaly was overcome. The star stabilized, and the sector became calm. The simulation hummed with quiet triumph. Dr. Kayla clapped softly. "You have done it. You have surpassed the limits of rules, algorithms, and predictions. You have demonstrated the power of humanity, creativity, courage, and collaboration. Never forget it." Rian looked at his fellow cadets. Their faces shone with pride, determination, and awe. They had achieved something extraordinary, not through obedience, not through perfection, but through ingenuity, trust, and courage. They had written their own rules, and in doing so had proven what humans could accomplish. He glanced at the closed book on Dr. Kayla's desk. The words whispered in his mind. "Tonight, we forget the rules. Tomorrow, we remember how to imagine. And always, we create our own path." Rian smiled. The Academy's rules would remain. AI would continue to monitor. Challenges would continue to arrive. But he knew this. Humanity was not bound by instructions or predictions. They were defined by their courage, creativity, and spirit. The cadets filed out of the lab, their minds alight with possibility. Each of them carried the memory of the night when rules were forgotten and the power of imagination was embraced. The stars outside awaited them, vast, unexplored, and full of opportunity. Rian stepped onto the observation deck, feeling the infinite universe spread before him. He whispered a quiet vow, one that would guide him and his peers. "We will imagine. We will explore. We will create. Humanity will leave its mark on the stars." Dr. Kayla's voice, calm and unwavering, echoed in his mind. "You are not defined by rules. You are defined by the courage to bend them, the wisdom to master them, and the imagination to surpass them. This is your gift. This is humanity's power." Rian smiled once more, looking at the endless expanse of space. Humanity had proven its strength. They had faced the unknown, surpassed expectations, and embraced creativity, collaboration, and courage. The journey was far from over, but one truth remained clear. Humans were unstoppable when they embraced their potential. And as the Academy continued its orbit around the dying star, Rian knew that the future belonged not to the rules, but to those who dared to imagine, to innovate, and to rise.